Hi guys, welcome to Money Talks. My name is Eric.
And I'm Rosie.
And today we're going to be hearing from Tony Manganello, current co-owner of the Jumping Bean, about identity protection.
Hi, I'm Tony Manganello, and I am a former fraud investigator for the government, and I want to share a few points about identity theft with you as a student to help you protect your identity. Some things you may not know. For example, the bad news is that your identity has probably already been compromised. But the good news is there just aren't enough bad guys to use and exploit all of that information. So unless you become a victim already of identity theft, you can take some simple steps to decrease your risk of having your identity stolen or having your credit stolen or having and protecting yourself. So one of the first things to be aware of are what are the threats that are out there. One of the common things that that criminals do to try to get your credit information is they'll send phishing emails, or they'll have even phishing phone calls. This is what's known as social engineering. So if any time that somebody's contacted you in an unsolicited fashion and is asking you for personal information or bank information, you can probably assume that it's a scam. These types of scams are so prevalent. In fact, you've probably seen emails that are suspicious. And so the best thing to do is to just delete them. Don't click on any links, even if they appear to come from someone that you know. Sometimes your friends or relatives' address books can be hacked, and they can send an email that looks like it's coming from them. But if there's something wrong with it, if the email address that it's coming from looks a little off, or something just doesn't look right, make sure you don't click on any of the links. So that's called phishing, and it can happen over the phone if someone calls you and says they're from a bank or from your Taylor University or from anywhere that they might know that you would be associated with. They could ask you for personal information. And again, the key is to detect anything that's unsolicited. So if you initiate contact with a bank or with an institution, then you can verify independently that who you're talking to. Whereas if someone contacts you without you requesting them to contact you back or something like that, then it could be a scam. So just be on the watch for that. Another way that your information can be compromised is through data breaches. So you've probably seen in the news that big banks have been hacked. In fact, the Sony Corporation was hacked last year, and emails and like movie plots and that sort of thing were stolen, and some sensitive information that was proprietary. Well, just in the same way that that large company was hacked, your bank could be hacked and your account information could be lost, or your medical records that contain your social security number and other identifying information about you could be lost to a data breach. So usually when something like that happens, you'll get a letter in the mail from the company or organization that was breached offering you a free credit protection service. It's usually a good idea to take them up on that, because they'll give you 18 months or 2 years of free credit monitoring. Again, you'll want to make sure that you verify that it's actually a legitimate letter and that it's coming from a known entity. But those are good protections if your data is breached. Another thing to watch out for is skimming. This has actually become more and more common. In fact, there's been cases of skimming here in Grant County, Indiana recently. Skimming is where a criminal can capture your credit card information. Sometimes it happens at the gas pump where they affix a device to the credit card reader. And when you scan your credit card, the bad person's device actually picks up your credit information and steals it. Also, servers in a restaurant can steal your information by carrying a little pocket skimmer in their apron, and when they go to ring up your bill, they can scan your credit card on their skimming device and also steal your credit card that way. The best way to prevent things like that from happening is to always keep your credit card in view, especially if you're in a new city where you're not familiar, not one of your regular spots where you know the servers personally or something like that, is to always keep your credit card in view so that you can always see. Most of the restaurants have terminals that are in plain view that you can make sure that they only swipe your credit card into the correct terminal machine. Also, if you're at the gas pump and the credit card terminal looks a little bit off, like if it's not flush against the side of the machine, or if there's tape or wires or something that looks off, just don't use it, because it might have an external device attached to it that is trying to capture your credit card information. So those are some of the basic threats against your identity that are out there. There are certainly numerous others, but those are the ones I wanted to speak about here. So what are some measures that you can take to protect your identity? For one thing is safeguard your personal information. Be very selective about who you give your information to. So try to limit the number of places that you list your Social Security number, for example, date of birth, even your address and phone number. Make sure that you're only giving out that information when it's absolutely necessary. One thing that people don't think about is their mail. Mail theft is another way that people can steal your credit information, so make sure that you are always checking your mail promptly. This isn't as big a concern on a university campus, but when you get out in maybe a shared mailbox, like at an apartment complex somewhere after graduation, make sure that you're checking your mail regularly and inspecting it. Look at your bills, make sure that there's no suspicious charges or usages that look funny to you. If there are on your bills, make sure that you investigate, especially on your credit card bill. Some fraud involves small charges against your credit, so they'll make purchases that wouldn't necessarily look suspicious or be egregious, like a $2,000 new TV. You'd notice that, but if it was a $25 charge to Target, you might not think anything of it. So make sure that you're reading your mail closely, you're checking it promptly. If you go on vacation, make sure you do a mail stop with the post office. It's a free thing. They'll just hold your mail all the days that you're gone, and they'll deliver it on the day that you return home, or you can pick it up from the post office. Along with mail and documents, make sure that you're always shredding or destroying any documents that you don't need any longer. You want to keep the absolute minimum number of documents with personal information or credit information as possible. And anything that you don't need, make sure that you're shredding. And that includes old bills, doctor visits, paperwork, anything like that that has your personal information on it. You want to make sure that you're shredding or burning or somehow destroying. Don't just throw it in the recycling bin. Along with that, when you're traveling, again, if you're traveling to a new place or a new city, take as few identity documents with you as possible. Just don't carry much in your wallet in terms of receipts or pay stubs or anything like that. Just leave that stuff at home or burn it or destroy it somehow, and just minimize the amount of information that you're carrying on your person. Another thing is to be cognizant of your cyber identity. It's easy to get engaged with social media, get engaged in the online world. There's so many sites and apps and things that ask us for our information and give us opportunities to post information about ourselves. And one thing that I think, young people in a university setting may not think about is everything that you put into the digital world lives forever. And so you may post things even now that you might think are innocent or fun, but could come back to haunt you if a future employer is doing a background check on you, for example. Or, and also the social media feeds are hard to control who can view those. So you may be talking about an upcoming vacation to Africa. You're going to go on a 2-week safari and you're talking all about it on social media. Well, if someone knows where you live and knows what dates you're going to be away from your home, they could break in, they could steal something from you, or do any number of things knowing that you're going to be gone. So you just want to be careful about what kinds of information you're posting, and to the extent that you can, control your who's viewing your information. Along with the cyber world, you should always be establishing strong passwords. I know it's a pain, but one of the statistics is something like 50% of all passwords are one of 10 things, 10 common passwords that are out there. So make sure that you're using strong passwords, change them regularly. Again, there are software programs that are designed to attempt password authentications at incredible rates of speed. So the stronger your password, the more protection you're going to have against programs like that. if they do target your systems. Install antivirus software or firewall software on any of your personal devices or your home networks. Always be cognizant of any external wireless networks that you're getting on. For example, if you travel to a hotel or a restaurant that has free Wi-Fi, or even Wi-Fi that you pay for, it's still an open network, and those networks are susceptible to being viewed by other people that are not connected with that property. With a fairly simple and cheap scanner, people could sit in a car in a block away from an organization and still get into their wireless network and view what's going on. So one thing that I do is I use my iPhone, or a lot of mobile phones will create a personal hotspot with an encryption key, and you can run your laptop or iPad or anything you need right off of the internet from your phone, and that's a secure network. Again, it provides you with an encryption key, and you know that your network and the data that you're exchanging online is through a secure connection as opposed to some kind of public network. So that's another way to protect your cyber identity. Another thing is when you're shopping online, whether it's for airline tickets or on Amazon or whatever you're buying online, make sure it's from a verified retailer. There are a lot of fraudulent retailers that appear to be legitimate, but again, if you do your due diligence, and you can limit your purchases to verified areas or verified retailers. That's another big area that you can protect yourself. Okay, so what to do if your information has been compromised? Well, I mentioned earlier that a lot of times you'll be able to sign up for a free credit monitoring service. Well, you don't have to wait until you're victimized to do that. You can actually purchase very aggressive credit monitoring for pretty cheap. Most of them are around $10 a month, and there are several good products on the market. And a lot of them come with all kinds of services. They'll monitor your credit. They'll give you fraud protection if you do get defrauded. They have like liability up to certain amounts of money that they can help you with. They can use their teams of people and contacts with they have their own investigators that can help you sort out the mess after the fact. They also do things like they'll send you reports about like sex offenders that are registered in your area, and other sorts of threat information it's all public record, but these companies have developed software and teams of investigators that can help you. And again, it's very inexpensive. If you do get your identity stolen or your credit compromised, you should also contact one of the 3 major credit bureaus. That's Equifax, TransUnion, or Experian, and you can put a fraud alert on your credit so that if anyone tries to establish credit using your information, your social security number has been frozen and can only be verified by you. So you can put a fraud alert that says for any new credit application, for example, you have to be contacted to verify that. Let's see. Another thing to do is you could photocopy your driver's license, your credit cards, your identity documents, and keep those in a safe place, because if your wallet is stolen, it's easier to recover those items if you have a photocopy, because a lot of times there'll be a number to call in case of fraud or to report a lost credit card. But if your credit card was stolen, you don't know what that number is. It's just easier to enact your backup plan quicker. Most of that information obviously is available online pretty easily, but if you have all of your account numbers and your personal identity numbers in one place, copies of those made in a separate area, it'll be easier for you to reconstruct your identity if it is stolen. Okay, one other piece of advice just with credit cards. I would advise people to not use debit cards when making purchases. And the reason is, if a debit card is compromised, that actually links to the money in your bank account. So your account could be completely drained if your debit card is compromised, and it could take weeks for the resolution to come and for that money to be restored. And sometimes, in some cases, it doesn't get restored. Whereas if you're using a credit card, those are just charges that can then be disputed if you don't recognize them or think they're fraudulent. And no money actually leaves your bank account while that is being resolved. Also, you should choose a credit card from a major national bank. The big banks all have expensive and sophisticated software to detect fraud. They can detect, like, for example, common points of purchase. If there's a skimmer at like a restaurant in a big city and they see 20 credit cards from 20 different people that were all compromised, but all were made purchases at this one location, that's a way that they can detect fraud and help notify you. In fact, you will get a notice that says, hey, did you eat at this restaurant on such and such a date? We have evidence that there might have been a compromise at that restaurant. We're issuing you a new credit card. Also, big credit card companies have bank investigators that it's their job to help victims if there is an issue. And so you just have a lot of support behind a credit card that you don't behind a debit card. So those are just a few tips that I have to help you stay safe. Again, it's not a question of if your information gets stolen. It probably has been stolen or will be stolen, and there's not a lot that you can do about it, but there is a lot that you can do to protect yourself and to minimize the risks and the dangers and the effects of losing your information.